everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Oh,
no. It's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
you know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
What is up, you ducks? You're good, Foxy, our producer. I don't know. You got bees of sweat. You know, there's like you ever like messed something up. We got the outro, then the intro. I thought you were just going to bring us in after the outro for that. Whatever. What's up, everybody? It's all in football.
Good. We're here.
Yes. We're here. Like that would have been great if we just played the music. It was like, no show today. The end.
Just listen to the great music. Yeah, I mean, sometimes Mondays just slap you in the face. So, I mean, I'm going to have a few of those mess ups on some of my shows, but we're rolling here. Fox has always got us under control. Happy Monday to everybody. Let's go.
I know. The season starts next week. It's officially here. The preseason is done. That is it. We were talking plenty of stuff from the preseason, plenty of draft stuff for you guys. Reminder, code ALLIN, get you 20% at the FTN fantasy page where Chris Meaney is at, and everything's over there. Theathletic.com. Check out my rankings. They're updated. We'll continue to update them. We're going to talk about them today. I still think you might get $1 per month, question mark, on Ron Burgundy. I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know how much higher I could get. You could check it out. If you don't get the $1 per month, you might get $1 for every 2 weeks or something. There's offers over there.
Still
Go
a
check them
steal.
out. Yeah, it is. It's still a steal. This show is a steal. So, hey, we got 50, what do we get? We got 50 thumbs ups. We got 50 likes. We didn't get 50 comments.
Nice.
So I don't know how to give away a t-shirt and a half because I can't, like, because you get like half the battle. This isn't G.I. Joe. That's not the entire concept. So still giving out another t-shirt this week. We'll announce a t-shirt winner tomorrow or Wednesday. That being said, wherever I feel like it. But again, if I get 50 likes again, then I'll add, so because we did it twice, so that's 2 halves makes a whole. So then I'll get out 2 t-shirts. You get 50 likes again. I still comment afterwards, subscribe, like, all that type of stuff. But likes, if you get 50 likes again, I'll give it a second t-shirt too. We're going to talk preseason thing. I want to get this out of the way because it's kind of a subject to talk about. Like, prayers up, awful situation, Brian Robinson. Awful. Like, I mean, and this team, like, holy crap, like this team has dealt with a lot throughout the years than just, but anyway, we do have to talk about it because it's fantasy, what to do with Antonio Gibson. There's no word on Brian Robinson. There's no word if, like, it all sounds optimistic. Thankfully, he's in stable condition. Yeah. Actually, Coach Rivera came out today and said he's looking good. So things look good. Fortunately, not life-threatening. All that being said, 2 gunshot wounds. We don't know where yet. They haven't said. Could be November he returns, December he returns. Part of the things with that, I'm not a doctor, but like talk to some people, the speculation is too is that even if it heals properly, it has to be 100% heal. Like you can't work back into it, because if it's not 100% healed and then you get hit in that spot, you could just reopen, re-tear the muscle of where you got shot. So anyway, this was a lot of people drafted yesterday. I had people texting me. Just took Brian Robinson. Just Antonio Gibson was a steal now. Like, so for all intents and purposes, we don't know. It's Gibson, McKissick, and Jarrett Patterson. Chris, does Antonio Gibson jump back up into the top 20? Not trying to be tasteless, but people have their drafts. Right. Again, the most important thing is that Brian Robinson gets healthy.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. I mean, prayers up to him, stable condition. That's a great news. Pretty crazy to see that. Yesterday I was like, oh my goodness, like what the heck? Like, I just hate hearing news like that, but it is good that he's going to be fine. He's going to be back on the football field soon. Like you're right. We're just kind of speculating when he's going to be back. We're unsure of that situation. I'm not going to, overreact all too much. Like, I'm still out on this backfield. I still think it's going to be pretty crowded. And, if he doesn't come back until, November into December, yeah, I mean, you can opportunity in real life for Antonio Gibson to kind of take that job back, because all reports, from your colleagues at The Athletic, people that are on the sidelines watching, that he basically took the job away from Antonio Gibson, that he was going to get first and second down opportunities. He's going to get goal line work, and J.D. McKissick was going to keep his role. So I think if you're drafting this week, and it is draft season, right? Preseason is over. I'd say Gibson probably still is like a in between 25 and 30 to me. I'm not going to bump him up to a top 20 running back. I still think he's going to fall down draft boards, and I still think he's kind of valuable. But at the end of the day, this still will be a crowded backfield. Like, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces. Robinson yesterday in a underdog draft, you know, he roughly, I've been seeing him go RB 35 to 40. Yesterday, outside the top 45, he was kind of still hanging around 16. You know, if you want to play that game and you pick him and you stash him, maybe he's back sooner. You know, maybe this is a week where all of a sudden he's a value again. There's a lot of uncertainty, but it is still going to be a crowded backfield. I don't know what it does for you, but we've been talking about the value on Gibson. Like, Gibson's been falling in drafts, like, pretty significantly outside the top 30 at the running back position. Robinson there or not, I think it could be worth it if you want to go that route, but it's kind of not for me. It's not for me.
Really? So I'll throw out a name. I think I feel better about Gibson than Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I could see that same situation. Really, right? We have a running back in Jacobs on his last year of the deal. Raiders didn't pick up the 5th option. You have new offensive coordinator. They like Amir Abdullah because they cut Kenyon Drake. They even brought over Brennan Bolden. And we saw last year in New England, how many times did we see Brennan Bolden? I know it's laughable, but how many times did you see Brennan Bolden?
He plays special teams, so he's always going to be out there.
He's a special teams guy. He's a vet. 3rd down, McDaniels trusts him, played him last year in those situations, and brought him over. And then you got Zamir White with, I could get behind that.
Yeah, so I think that
too. I don't want a piece of him.
So I have what I ended up doing when I updated everything. So I have this tier with Travis Etienne, Elijah Mitchell, Gibson, Jacobs, Harris, Damian Harris, A.J. Dillon, and then David Montgomery, which might need to move up. Let's talk David Montgomery. Let's move on from this. And yes, we are going to talk Cam Akers. So, probably more Cam Akers tomorrow. Sorry if you're drafting tonight. I moved him down in the rankings down to 14 to basically it sounds like...
You were already high on him anyways. If you moved him to 14, Jake, you were already in on him.
Yes, I'm still in on him.
You're still in.
I know he is. So you don't have to take him there. That's, again, pay attention to drafts. You can take him 3rd, maybe in 4th round now at this point with this news. I actually messaged Jordan Rodriguez to say what's going on with Cam Akers. She's surprised too, like little inside from the sources. Nice. Well, it's like, so this isn't a clear answer because she's checking too, but she's been out there. And she said he's looked good running. He's been running with Darrell Henderson out there, and they both traveled to Cincinnati, which she said was the weird thing about it, that they're saying Akers is now behind Henderson, although he's been running out there on the field with Henderson on the side because they're not playing because they're both running on the side. So again, she's checking in on this. We're trying to find out what's going on. We're trying to figure out over at the trying to get the inside information over here. What the hell's going on with Cam Akers? So probably more tomorrow, if not Wednesday. We are trying to find out. But again, I still have him as outside now at RB1. I had him locked in as an RB1. That's a discussion for another day. So let's talk David Montgomery because Khalil Herbert was getting all the run first 2 games. Was with the first team. Everything looked like what we've been hearing from this team this offseason is that could be more 50-50 like the Broncos last year. But then we see preseason week 3, the first time Montgomery's active because he's been dealing with the injury. He got a lot of run with the run. Khalil Herbert got sprinkled in, but then he stayed out there with the 2s all the way into the second half. Now, part of that's clear is that says it's Montgomery, Herbert, and then there's nobody else. Like they're so far behind, this isn't going to be a committee, which is good. But seeing what just happened, does that make you think this is not a 50-50? This is maybe 65-35, maybe even 70-30 like last year, and we only want Montgomery and Herbert is just one of the best handcuffs in football?
Yeah, I think that's it. You know, when I was talking about my sleepers on Mean Streets, Herbert was one, but I had said that I don't think Montgomery's going anywhere. Like, he's just not going to be put to the side and it's all of a sudden going to be 50-50. I think it's, you know, as long as he's healthy, even last year when he was healthy and he came back, he was the guy there. Herbert showed us that he can handle full workload, and in a small sample, it was 2 or 3 games that he started. He was touching the ball like 20 times in those games, catching the ball in the backfield. Looks like a really good running back, but I would say it's 70-30. I think people are hard on Dave Montgomery. Yeah, I think he gets the benefit of the doubt. This is a guy that's like 90 catches in the last couple of years. He's had 1,000-yard season in Chicago. They want to run the rock. They clearly want to run the football, some outside zones. It's going to be a run-first team that did nothing in the offseason to help out.
That's why I think, for everybody out there, stay with me for a second. No.
Okay.
This is why I think it's 70-45. No, the math doesn't add up. But that's because I think they're both going to be on the field a lot. I think this is going to be.
I can see that. Sure.
Like, we just saw I think this could be Justin Fields, Montgomery, Herbert, both on the field, maybe one of them on the line of scrimmage, both of them in the backfield, whatever it is.
Yeah,
and
sure.
This team is only 5 people. It's Fields, Kmet, Mooney, Herbert, Montgomery. Forget about Pringle and Velus Jones and all the rest. Like, those are the 5.
Those are the 5. Yeah, it's a rich price to pay for Khalil Herbert. If he's just a straight up handcuff.
You're basically paying Tony Pollard price, which the whole appeal of Tony Pollard is that you can't really ever use Tony Pollard. Like, yes, he has a game where he finishes top 20 and he is usable, but you don't go into that week saying, I want to use Tony Pollard as my RB2. It's, oh my God, if Zeke ever finally missed. Zeke barely misses time, by the way. This is, you know what? So I'm gonna make this argument real quick. This is why I'd rather, even at the same cost, this is why I'd rather have Herbert than Tony Pollard, because Zeke plays through injuries. Zeke does not want to stay off the field. You need Zeke to disappear to feel great about Tony Pollard. Herbert, we know if Montgomery's banged up, it's just going to step in and take, like, Montgomery misses games. So I'd rather take Herbert, even though he's on the worst team, and I'll even pull one of these into Albert through and Gainwell. I'll still take Herbert because I love some Gainwell. You know I love some Gainwell. Mm-hmm. If I want somebody usable every single week, I'll draft Gainwell. If I want the pure upside of somebody getting hurt, I would actually go Herbert over Pollard, despite the fact I like the Cowboys more than I like the Bears. Does that all make sense? Did you get all that? Do I need to paint a chart behind me?
You might have to. No, it's what we talked about last week, right? With Boston Scott and Gainwell and the situation that we were in last year when Miles Sanders went down. I think at that point, outside the top 40 at running back, what are you looking for? You're looking for kind of, when you do the article every week, next man up, you're looking for upside plays. And like you said, I mean, if there's no Montgomery, we know Herbert is getting 15 plus carries on the ground. We don't know that about Kenneth Gainwell. In fact, I could say with confidence that guy wouldn't get over 15 carries per game if Miles Sanders wasn't
Boston
ready
Scott.
to go. Say week 1. It's going to be Boston Scott, just like we saw in the last year. Actually, I think it may have been a game against Detroit. They opened up week 1 against Detroit. It was just Boston Scott, a little bit of Kenneth Gainwell, but it's more Kenneth Gainwell in that third down role as a pass catcher and maybe inside the red zone. So yeah, you're just shooting for upside and you're shooting for the next man up. And I think Herbert is one of those guys, even outside the top 40. Like I said, it's a rich price to pay, but if you are going the hero RB or the zero RB route, I think you're going to want to target RBs that can
Don't do it.
get in there and touch the ball 20 times.
Don't do it.
I think
Justin
I'd rather
Fields.
Pollard though, to be honest. When you had that talk,
Really?
yeah, just because I know. I think we're kind of speculating. I'm with you. You kind of sold me that maybe they can have 2 running back sets because they want to run the rock and they can use both of these guys. But I believe that Pollard will probably have more catches, and maybe in a pinch you can put him in as like a flex play, especially for the first few weeks. It sounds like Gallup will be back sooner rather than later, but he could be They could put him in the slot too. They could do some 2 running back things in Dallas. And man, the offensive line is atrocious. Maybe you just want to stay away
coming
from
off
both
the field.
of them.
Plus,
he's gonna have
Zeke's
to
got the
block.
commercial with Kevin Hart, so it's just we're all,
yeah.
all on board for that. What was it? Lamar Jackson, Kevin Hart, and who was the wide receiver? I forget. Was it Debo?
I don't know.
No, it wasn't. I forget. Somebody out there has seen it. Somebody knows. In any case, Justin Fields. I want to talk about him real quick. Did we just get a little boost of excitement from these past 2 games for Justin Fields? Are we? Yeah. I mean, for everybody else out there. So my pecking order of drafting quarterbacks this year. They're all the same. They're all fantasy related. It's like if I can get Hurts, that kind of went out the window. Everybody's drafting Hurts in like the 4th and 5th round now. I was like, well, that was fun. Can't get Hurts anymore. And then it was 1,000% Trey Lance. And they're like, oh, Trey Lance, 7th, 8th. Now they're like, Trey Lance in the 6th. I'm like, well, I'm out on that one too now. Like, stop taking my guys. Okay, right. You know what? I'll take the other one. Justin Fields in the 14th, 13th round, because it was strange is that nobody wanted Justin Fields, despite we've said how many times. The reason we're taking Trey Lance as a top 10 is because we think he's going to pass better than what Jalen Hurts did last year. We think he's going to be a better passer with his weapons. But take Jalen Hurts 2021, take his passing numbers and look at them. Look at those passing numbers. They are god-awful. They are miserable. And yet, a top 10 quarterback, Justin Fields has looked god-awful and has looked miserable until the past 2 weeks. He's looked pretty good. It's preseason. I'm not saying put a ton of weight into it. But
it's positive, yeah.
Are we Justin Fields, like, potential QB1? Could he sneak in? Could he get in that back door? Everybody's
I'm
focused
in.
on the front door of the club. He's getting in the back and be like, hey, look, Justin Fields is here. Look.
Yeah, he's like just knocking. Don't forget about me. I know I'm on the Bears,
Yeah,
and I only have
yeah.
2 passing weapons, and one of them had 60 grabs and 0 touchdowns last year. It was nice to see Cole Kmet find the end zone over the weekend. Yeah, this is great. I've always been into him at quarterback 15, 16. I think he makes for an amazing number 2 in Superflex. He's very valuable in best ball. He's, I mean, if you want to wait in your home league where you just roll out one quarterback in a 12-team league, I think you could wait to the last couple rounds. And, Stafford is falling. If you're uncomfortable drafting him with the elbow, you could go the Derek Carr route. You can go the Kirk Cousins route. And if those two aren't there for you, I think that you can go Fields. And I think you could even go Trevor Lawrence. Honestly, I think both of those guys are kind of.
Who would you take between those two? That's the bigger question.
I would take Fields. He averaged 56 rushing yards per game the final 7 games of the season. So that's the kind of floor that we've talked about with these quarterbacks. And yeah, the weapons are not great, but I think he's going to come with a solid floor. And if he can throw 1 or 2 touchdowns, you remember Josh Allen when he broke out? Remember when we were talking about him at the Athletic? We were in on that breakout season. I bet you half of his games. Don't quote me, but I would say half of his games, 200 or fewer passing yards. And this guy was still a borderline QB1. There were multiple games. A couple of Bills fans.
That was always to clarify. I want for everybody, not for you. I want to clarify for everybody out there. You're saying the breakout was his second season where he became fantasy irrelevant, not his true breakout, which was 2020. Because when I thought the same thing. When you said breakout, my mind went to 2020 when he became the number 1 quarterback.
Go
so his second season, which you're talking about, when he finished as a top 10 quarterback, there's 250, 250, 240, 150, 210, 202. 169, 160, 260, 250, 180, 230, 140, 130. Again, he finished as a top 10 quarterback, but you're mentioning it because of the rushing upside. The second season, he ran for 510 yards and 9 rushing touchdowns. Here's my little bit of a pushback, which I'll say, on why I still think I learned Trevor Lawrence is for 2 reasons. Is the weapons, if you take 2021 Eagles versus 2022 Bears,
yeah.
I still think I take the Eagles. And then here's my biggest concern. The rushing touchdowns for Josh Allen. I don't know that Fields gets more than 3 or 4 because 2, one is that offensive line is among, if not the worst in the league. And then the offense as a whole just might not get there from actually, third, does Justin Fields play 17 games behind that offensive line?
Well, that's something to
remember Not Another
well.
Teen
That's
Movie? I feel like Justin Fields is going to be that guy in the end zone that gets split in half at some point.
Yeah, well, there has been. I mean, I noticed last year there was a lot of him. I mean, the coaching was atrocious in Chicago, but they have to be telling him to, not hold on to it as long. Like, you get rid of it quicker. Like, just things that you tell young quarterbacks. But we saw that with Josh Allen again in his first couple seasons. Like, he's a bigger body. He could take some of those hits, but man, like, get rid of the ball. There's no need to be taking those hits near the end zone. Just kind of run out of bounds or throw it away. And we'll see that with him. But I'm looking back at that season. You're right. Justin Fields won't get 9 rushing touchdowns this year. But could he run for 510 rushing yards? I think so. I mean, Vegas thinks so too. I mean, his rushing yard prop is at 500 yards for the season. And he Allen averaged 193 passing yards per game that season. He finished with 3,000 passing yards. It's basically what
20
hurts.
touchdowns. I remember that season. That's
touchdowns.
what I keep saying. If Trey Lance does that this year, 3,020, he's not only top 10, he's potentially even higher because of that rush upside. And I think he can do better than that. Josh Allen. Again, my concern with Fields is that he survives this year. Yeah. So speaking of surviving, let's talk about players that aren't surviving right now, injury-wise, as we just finished drafts this past weekend. And 2 on the Steelers. 1 gets bad news that has been there. This is what sucks about preseason, is that people can be hurt and there's no obligation to tell us what's going on. And then we find out about Najee Harris. Flip side, Deontay Johnson hurt in the game. So let's talk about both of them. Like, the NFL needs to change this. Like, I get it. It's preseason. But, and I'm not saying just for fantasy, but it's just like you can sit there and be like, mispractice. Oh, by the way, he has no knee. Like, it's just like, oh, this is why he's been like, thanks. So for people that might have missed it, Najee Harris is apparently dealing with Liz Frank. I saw that and I was like, oh my God. Like, that was my reaction. Like, what? Like, what? Liz Frank? This is what we're doing right now? This is what you're telling us? and their offensive line hasn't looked great throughout the preseason at times. So concern level 1 to 10 and Najee Harris right now today, August 29th? 29th.
I'd say when I first heard it, it was an 8 or a 9, but looking into it a little bit more, it's probably like a 6. I still think he's definitely a top 10 running back. It's concerning because of what you said, the offensive line and all the touches. I mean, he led the NFL in touches last year as a rookie, and there's been talk about, scaling him back a little bit. And Wallace has looked pretty good as Wallace, right? He's looked pretty good.
That's Jalen Wallace as of right now. There's Benny Snell's getting some talk again.
The reason I think I'm not as concerned, well, one thing, Mike Tomlin just straight up lied to us. I mean, that's not the first time or the last time a coach, like he said that he stepped on a foot. And then yesterday, Najee Harris said, I didn't step on a foot. I've been dealing with this for 4 weeks. The timeline for Lisfranc is 4 to 6 weeks, roughly on average. So that's why we saw him on the field over the weekend. So I think it's fine. I think this is why we haven't seen him. It's been very hush, quiet, clearly. Lisfranc is concerning. I think if we knew this news over the past couple weeks, this guy would be falling to the end of the second. But the fact that it sounds like he's going to be ready to go week 1, he's going to have to play through this, most likely. This is probably something that's going to bother him, at least for the first half of the season. But I don't know, Jake. If he falls mid-second and second, I'm pulling the trigger on this guy.
Well, I was going to say, let's do a mini list here right now. Would you go Najee Harris or Joe Mixon as of today?
No, I'd go Mixon.
Come here. You're part of this segment. Come here. Najee Harris or Saquon Barkley?
I would go Barkley.
There's Barkley. Look at that. Barkley, you get to go in front of Najee Harris. How does that make you feel? She's speechless.
Yeah.
She's speechless. All right. Najee Harris or Alvin Kamara?
Kamara. I got both of those guys have moved in my top 10 over the past couple weeks.
I'm assuming Dalvin Cook over Najee Harris now.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, has never played 17 games or 16 games. He's never played a full season. I just want to throw that out there.
Never. Yeah.
Okay. Najee Harris or Nick Chubb?
I would go Najee there, just from the pure catching upside that he has. He's going to catch like 50 more balls.
Aaron Jones? DeAndre Swift?
Javonte
Williams?
Swift, yes. No on everybody else. Like he's like number 10 for me. I think I got
Swift you've got him right around 10-ish or so.
Yeah, 10. He's moved down because a month ago he was 5 for me. It was like
had him at 4.
Henry and Harris. Like these are guys that I just knew they're going to get.
I had him one spot in front of Austin Eckler because of the workload. Like because Austin Eckler and the team have continued to say they want to find somebody. Joshua Kelly's got. I would have 4. Joshua Kelly. Having a good preseason. I still believe in Isaiah Spiller. If you probably don't even need to draft Isaiah Spiller at this point, you just kind of just wait and see how that goes. If it's a deeper league, maybe you stash him. I think Spiller could be. He's going to have to move his way up, but there's opportunity because he's banged up now too. So it's going to be Joshua Kelly to start the season. But real quick before we get out of here, and reminder: tomorrow's show full hour, Wednesday full hour. We're going to touch more. Drop your questions. You can do that while you're liking it. After dropping your comments, and I'll bring them up because this is the final week. I want your questions. Legitimately, I'm not trying to be like, I want your questions because we've talked about a lot of the same stuff. We have the same stuff we've been talking about with each other, and we might overlook some of these things that you'd be like, well, you know what? I've been wondering about blank. So drop that in the comments after the show because once the show's over, all these boom, comments gone.
Yeah.
So after the show, and I'll try to bring some of those up with Lauren and Chris Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Real quick before we get out of here because we're over the time. Derrick Henry. Am I nuts to think that he'll be fine because of the workload? 1,500 carries to his career or touches to his career. I even said, here's my argument back, Chris, is I said, everybody's like, oh, that's the threshold. I was like, it's not really. I went back and looked just to prove it. It's like tons of guys. LaDainian Tomlinson. I mean, again, these are some of the best, but LaDainian Tomlinson, I mean, you could go to Marshall Faulk. Like, there's a bunch of names where after 1,500, they kept going. And for 2 or 3 years. So, yes, it is an average number, but there are some of the best. He's a freak in nature, huge guy. He's got 3,000 touches if you go all the way back to high school. But how many kids don't have touches in high school and college? Like that argument, I'm just throwing that because somebody threw that argument at me. Am I crazy to think that Derrick Henry is the number 3 running back? Yes or no, Chris?
No, I don't think you are. Like he was on pace for 500 touches and 46 carries, 460 carries. The one thing that I don't think people are talking about enough is his catches. Like it slowly jumped up every year. He played, 8 games last year, and he had 18 catches. Guys, if you average that out, that's 36 grabs. So that's another element that he could bring to the table that we haven't seen from him. There's a lot of uncertainty at the wide receiver position. Treylon Burks looks great when he's on the field, but then it seems like there's always something that's already bothering him, like an injury. And then Robert Woods is over 30 coming back from a knee injury. Austin Hooper looks like the number one target for Ryan Tannehill potentially. I think Derrick Henry might catch 35 passes. And he's going to catch 35 passes and have 400 touches. He's a top 5 running back. There's no question.
Put some money on most yards in the league this year. Just as a bet.
A little sprinkle.
Side bet. But yeah, sprinkle. A little sprinkle. And a little sprinkle as we gave you today on Monday. A little sprinkle. There you go. For everybody. Yay. I don't know why I'm doing this with my arm. We will see you tomorrow. Code ALLIN, 20% off at FTN. Go The Athletic. The rankings and the projections have been updated. I will continue to update them all week because we got cuts going on this week too. So they'll be out there. And I'll do it with this arm too. We'll see you tomorrow. Yay.